empty sky.
Listening to your songs sometimes is like listening to modern American history. You broadened your way of songwriting back in '75, didn't you?
Well, I was interested in writing like my heroes did. They wrote about their times, you know, whether it's or sang about their times, like a Frank Sinatra or a Hank Williams. When I hear Hank Williams, I hear the South in the 40s. When I hear Frank Sinatra, I hear New York or Chicago in the 30s and 40s and 50s, you know. This is music that just, it brings to life these different eras of history. And I was interested in doing what some of those musicians and artists did by trying to encapsulate the times that I lived in, which is why on Thunder Road, I'm 24 years old and I'm singing We're Not That Young Anymore. Really, you know, what it was, you know, the country was 2 years out of Vietnam and the whole country didn't feel young anymore. And so those things crept into Born to Run, and it's what made the 1950s elements of the twangy guitars and the big wall of sound, or 60s elements, it's what made it feel not anachronistic, was there was a very current and modern sense of place and dread that had entered American life in the early 70s, and that became a part of my music. And that was the thing that, you know, my characters are all much more worried than the characters that came 10 years, 5 years before in the Phil Spector records or the Roy Orbison, you know. Maybe not the Roy Orbison records, because he was a worried man who always sang a worried song. But in general, you know, it was the characters were carrying a lot of weight and worry and dread with them, along with exhilaration and a good degree of hope and some innocence.